Well, Brent, Sarah, it turns out the impact of that decision now, 70 years later, is still really up for debate. While data shows that schools over the past few decades have gotten more diverse, it turns out by some measures they've also gotten far more segregated.
The decision in Brown represented a promise that this would be a nation where students of all races and backgrounds could learn together in the same classrooms and the same schools.
But 70 years later, many say the U.S. still hasn't made good on that promise.
Our schools are segregated because our communities are segregated. Our social circles are segregated.
A new report from UCLA's Civil Rights Project found the proportion of schools that were intensely segregated, meaning a population of 0 to 10% white students, nearly tripled over the last 30 years, rising from 7.4 to nearly 20%.
We are not given access to the same amount of resources, to the same quality of education. And if we don't have that, how are we supposed to be successful?
According to data from the School and State Finance Project, a nonpartisan, nonprofit policy organization, Connecticut's student population is roughly 50% white and 50% Black, Indigenous, people of color, or BIPOC. But they say the state's school districts do not represent this.
While there certainly has been progress since Brown v. Board, we are still a very highly segregated state, both in terms of race and then also in terms of economics.
Morton says most students attend either a district where more than 75% of the students are white or a district where more than 75% of the students are BIPOC. More than half of all Black students attend a district where the white student population is less than 25% of the district's total enrollment. And a majority of Connecticut's BIPOC students are concentrated in fewer than 15 districts, with more than 45% of BIPOC students attending a local public school district where the total student population is more than 75% BIPOC.
Districts that are serving primarily white students are spending $674 million more than anybody else combined. What that translates to is basically $2,500 per student.
Morton says Connecticut is making changes this past legislative session, expanding a new need-based funding model. But he says there is still much more work to be done.
Just because they're not in your neighborhood or next door doesn't mean that we should forget about the problems and the challenges that continue to impact thousands and thousands and thousands of students in the state every single day, not just on a day that we recognize a landmark Supreme Court decision.
And on a federal level, Connecticut U.S. Senator Chris Murphy released a statement earlier today saying in part, quote, "We have to do more to make the promise of Brown v. Board of Education a reality." He's pushing for two different pieces of legislation in Congress. One is the Strength and Diversity Act and the other the Magnet Act. He says both of these measures would help to increase diversity in schools. Live outside the state Supreme Court. Reporting here in Hartford, Emma Wolforst, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.